Hello everyone, it's 5:30 p.m. Welcome to the Masterclass where we read Productive Failure. So there was a very interesting statement which I would like to read where we concluded last time, where we thought failure itself was a reason for us to learn. And the interesting bit was we delved into cognitive and affective benefits of productive failure. We also looked at the Zeigarnik effect and concept of endowed progress. When we're talking of endowed progress, we started looking at a graphic which say able 1, able 2, able 3, effective boost levels. So able is effective boost levels. So how do you get the effective boost levels to convert that productive failure into what maybe is beyond your expectations? So this is the challenge, and let's see how completion of able 4 happens today. So our focus is on able 4, assisted boost level 4, and see how productive failure kicks in and how do you reach that effect which productive failure should have. So we discussed various learning methods. We talked about mental progress, motivation, the gradient effect, which I explained to you last time reading from the book. And then, more than anything else, we shared examples of everyday life, all the examples of physics, mathematics, which you saw. And I'm very interested that these are the motivating factors, the assisted boost levels. And every level helps you take up the next step. And that's why that graphic which says assisted boost levels. So let's flip open the book. Here we are, effective boost level 4 or able 4, which is completion, which means the effect comes to life. Be it the last lap in the pool, or the last 100 meters of a long race, or the last few sit ups, or the last few pages of the book, we find an additional drive when the goal is near and clear in sight. Think about it. Give this a thought. That's why I pause for a minute. Here, completing in itself, of itself, becomes its own and additional reward. So you will pick up a book, see how many pages left in this chapter. Can I complete it today or not? I'm sure we all do it. I also, when I come here, before I come in, I say how many pages I have to read today. Will I be able to complete it or not? Then I target to reach there. So this brings you closer to your effect. It's a motivation. In 2023, Benjamin Converse and colleagues showed that we tend to prefer to work on the task that is almost complete to the ones that are, say, halfway done, or if the latter is more fun or offers a higher reward. There is something about completion that we are highly attracted to, so much so that we value completion in itself or able for. That's what happens when you look at marks in your school. Sorry, I had to complete that cup of tea, so that's why the last two sips were very fast. So that's able for me, the thrill from the cup of tea. In short, the four effective boosts form a staircase, each building on the previous one. Able one focuses on avoiding loss. So as you are seeing fear, as you are seeing loss, so your first boost is to try and avoid that loss. It's a motivator. Able to focuses on progress already made. So you see that you've climbed 2 steps, that boosts you and you persist. Able 3 drives its force from the goal gradient. You see what lies ahead. You see the goal gradient is able 3. You see completion is near. Yeah, I'm almost about to make it. And that's when you kick in with your last bit of effort. You see the tape in a race and you make that last dash in the last few seconds. So often, a new winner turns up in the last few seconds of a race. And finally, able 4 kicks in when we are delightfully close to our goal, when we are almost there, and the joy of completing itself pushes us through to reach our goal. So here's your figure. Effective boost level 1 to 4. Look at it. First, you try to minimize your loss, then you have endowed progress, then you figure out you have a goal, and then you see completion. Inventing solutions to a challenging problem that requires knowledge you have not learned yet is hard. No one but several solutions. Sorry, not one but several solutions, especially when the solutions end up being suboptimal or incorrect, which means you're trying. This is where we need the effect boost levels to come into play. So, to break you from I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying, yes, I made progress. They get you started, keep you motivated, supporting you all the way as you generate multiple ways of solving the problem, one after another, until you are ready for the final step. You are at your cliffhanger of learning. Your interest and curiosity piqued, which gives you an additional effective charge on top of the need for closure. Situational interest and curiosity. Figure 5.2, see the matchsticks there? Shows 10 matchsticks arranged in the following order 1 to 4. Here's a challenge, move exactly one matchstick so that order is reversed. That is from 4 to 1. Take a minute. So figure out that one moves. Have a look. So as of now, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. By moving one matchstick, it should become 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do it. It's very easy. So from your 4 in the end, you just pick up the second one from the right and park it in the first one. Most people find the problem hard, and chances are you, like me, will not be able to find the solution. But you certainly will be able to try to move number of moves, because the problem lends itself to trying multiple moves, only to find that it's really hard to find out the correct move. Sorry, I could get the move because maybe I had looked at the graphic before I came to the class. But let me tell you, it wasn't difficult. Maybe it's the level of reading and thinking which one ends up doing. But I found this very exciting, and you can try this in your class with your students as a idea of interest and curiosity. It's like a lovely icebreaker when you want people to think. When you want someone to get that able boost, yeah, I can do it. Suppose, as expected, after having tried several ideas, you fail to figure out the solution. At that moment, how interested and curious would you be to find out that elusive move? Chances are you would be curious and highly interested in learning the correct move. And if you want to find out, just Google it. Jugdeep sir always says that on Sunday school. Google it, and once you find out, try to notice how you felt, for we shall need to visit that later in that chapter. So today, why only this? You have Chat GPT, you have so many other ways of solving this. But yes, these are all tools to make you achieve your goal. And we are sitting here with a tool that we are connected through virtual reality. And as virtual reality is becoming more and more powerful, I mentioned last time that I attended my first virtual reality summit, where it was not like Zoom. I could move there in the hall. There was a grandstand stage. I could walk up to the stage, ask a question standing. So that's how far imagination and how far they have moved to create situational interest and curiosity. In the learning sciences, we call this situational interest. In contrast to more stable interest that you may have, situational interest is triggered in the moment when something in the environment piques you. So, the way I will talk to you, the way I will create the environment around, or like when we started talking in the beginning, why do I sit in such a large hall? And why do we have the lights here? Why do we have this backdrop here? So, all these things are situational, they arouse a curiosity. And because you are humans as curious, and I always say that the goal of improving yourself is address only two things: curiosity and hygiene. And believe me, these are transformational goals for any institution, any school, any individual. If you can smarten up with curiosity to push you and hygiene to take care of your mind, body, and soul, you are fantastically going to experience productive success. Why productive failure? In contrast to most noble interests that you may have, situational interest is triggered in the moment when something in the environment piques you. Piques means arouses you, makes you think, make you ask yourself. Like that matchstick, you tried various tricks, so you got excited. एक बार नहीं हुआ, दूसरी बार किया, तीसरी बार किया. That's how the whole cycle goes. It is by definition temporary, fleeting even, and bound to the immediate context or situation within which you find yourself. In that moment, you become interested in exploring the problem. And if you are unable to solve it, your curiosity spikes and you become interested in finding out that solution. The question is, what triggers such situational interest and curiosity in people? And how can we harness those triggers for deep learning? The curious child. Long before scientists started to study curiosity experimentally, the Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget in the 1930s proposed that children use curiosity in their play to construct knowledge through interactions with their environment. This is 1936. When faced with something they do not fully understand, children's curiosity is piqued and they use their play to reduce the uncertainty. However, Piaget did not strong experimental evidence to back his claims. Before I read further, so often children will open up a toy. That's their curiosity. That's the first thing I can think of. They would like to break things and see them. That's curiosity. So that action itself makes them curious. So that's why we're talking of the curious child. So Piaget wanted to do some experimental evidence to back that there is a curious something known as a curious child. But sometimes we do not need experimental evidence, especially if you have experienced it yourself. Ask my mother. She would wholeheartedly agree with Piaget. She would be quick to share one of the ways I would frustrate her when I was a child. Because I wanted to break all my new toys, whether it was a shiny new car, a speedy airplane, or a whistling engine. I was always more curious about what was inside rather than what was on the surface. No sooner would I get my hands on a new toy than I would start taking it apart, piece by piece. Because for me, the joy was not just in possessing a new toy, but also in discovering how it worked, how things work. And for that, I had to break it open. Experimental evidence has since caught up with Piaget and my parents' experience. As science now suggests, I was not abnormal. It was my young mind's way of understanding the world around me, one toy at a time. Almost 100 years on since Piaget's proposals, the research has gathered ample evidence to suggest that children's play often serves a significant function. It helps reduce their uncertainty about the world and enables them to uncover its underlying causal structures. That is, how and why things work and way they work. So I wonder if you people remember there used to be How Things Work series at some stage when we were children. And How Things Work came out in various volumes and volumes where they uncover and they actually open the bonnet of a car and show how it works. So, how things work itself, or what we talk today, DIY. So many of us are very DIY curious. IKEA expects you to assemble your furniture. So that's your curiosity, which makes you see the manual, you'll find videos, and push yourself to assemble it. Scientists who study the effects of uncertainty do so by manipulating uncertainty in different ways and study its effects on curiosity and behavior. Elizabeth Bonowitz and colleagues have done an amazing set of studies to demonstrate that children exhibit a preference for toys that defy their expectations. For example, as a child, my elder son Dave used to be fascinated with magnetic toys. The idea that you could move things without touching them defied all his expectations. He found it incredibly intriguing. What Bonowitz and colleagues found was that this increase in curiosity is not only present in formal educational settings where children are given explicit instructions, but also when they have no explicit instruction to go on. Remember groups 1 and 2 from chapter 1. In one such experiment, Bonowitz and colleagues in 211 gave children an unfamiliar toy to play with. Some of us were here in chapter 1. I'm sure you remember. Children who were not given any instructions about the toy's functions actually spent more time with it and discovered more of its features than those who were explicitly instructed about the toy and its features. Instead of playing with the toy that was clear and unambiguous in what it did, they were more curious about the toy that was ambiguous. Uncertainty made them curious, which in turn drove their behavior. That is, they acted to explore ways to reduce and manage uncertainty. Now, this is human nature. This is a quote which needs to be highlighted. So, if you, I think this is an important part of curiosity, us being humans. So, I will park this quote here. The quote has been parked in our chat box on WhatsApp. It is not simply that children act in and explore ways to reduce uncertainty when they find themselves in such a situation, but that they actually prefer situations where there is more uncertainty. They seem to actively seek uncertainty. So the children will seek active uncertainty. As we grow, we start playing safe, and that's why we sometimes I say kill curiosity as we grow up. A simple example: we're all teachers here. How much do you read every day to satisfy your curiosity? Try and answer that question yourself. And then it's an important element to think. I know we are championing reading, but let me tell you the only way to do handle your curiosity is to Google, use AI, use documents, use books, listen to podcasts. So it's you have to create I was in a little session before this on organizational development, and I thought about it. How much time do I spend every day in learning? It's an important question. Think about it. Because if curiosity is what feeds the last part of completion or productive failure to become a success, think about this. How much time do you spend in doing unproductive things? How much time do you spend in exploring? When I say unproductive things, it will not be a scheduled timetable thing. It will be just hitting out or just reading a random book, reading a random article, doing something random absolutely in the rain, just going out without an umbrella, that random in monsoon. And that's where you learn how to overcome uncertainty. Imagine a toy involving boxes and two levers, with only one of the levers being actually responsible for the toy's behavior. Say, make a sound or some sort of movement, and so on. Is the child more likely to play with the toy where she knows exactly the lever that makes the toy go? Or the one where it is not clear which lever is responsible? Interesting experiment. In 2007, Schulz and Bonowitz carried out a similar experiment and found out that, given a choice, children preferred to investigate. Remember the days of reading Enid Blyton's Secret Sevens? Children are investigative by nature, and that's their curiosity. Children preferred to investigate the toy where it was not clear. which lever controlled the outcome than the one where it was crystal clear. Children were more inclined to interact with toys for which it was not clear how the toy worked compared to with toys that were unambiguously clear. They actively sought uncertainty. And this is the beauty of the system. We want certainty to in our schooling system, but we only learn from uncertainty. Today we will go to the class, we will do this chapter, we will do it like this, we'll give you the questions, you'll do the answers. I've repeated this umpteen number of times. Where is the uncertainty in that? Okay, today I'll go to the class and see what people think about what we are going to learn and have people voice questions before you can even read. You'll understand what uncertainty is. Actively seeking toys with uncertain behavior is all good, but how do children learn with such ambiguous and uncertain toys? Do they play with it randomly, or are there any patterns in how they play and explore with the toy? In a follow up study in 2011, Cook, Goodman, and Schultz presented children with a toy music box which played tunes when certain beads were placed on it. Some beads made the toy play music, others did not. One group of children were shown clearly which beads made the toy play music and which ones did not. For another group, this remained unclear. Despite the ambiguity in the causal variable, that is, which bead made the toy play music, children in the second group were astonishingly adept at designing simple experiments to defy the beads that made the toy play music. Those who were shown clearly tended to play with the toy indiscriminately without trying to figure out which beads were responsible. After all, they already knew. However, children for whom it was not clear selected and designed little experiments, functioning almost like little scientists, engaged in generating and testing hypotheses as they played with the toy. For years, we have underestimated the capabilities of children. This is an important paragraph. Please pay attention. For years, we have underestimated the capabilities of children, and it is quite remarkable that children go about their play not in some random fashion, but are more deliberate and systematic. What is even more remarkable is that their systematicity resembles how we go about doing science. So let's pick this up. These kind of paragraphs and hypotheses make you think. So you could pick up a statement like that, and a statement like this itself could become part of testing and hypothesis. We're getting too many of you giving assignments generated by AI. I'm not against that, but generate something different, design something different. It may be nice for us to learn. So look at this particular statement which I've put for you. Don't underestimate the capability of a children. So next time, test the hypothesis and share what you actually saw. It's no point you're structuring papers and presenting and posting, which we are doing it. We are accepting that with regard to you. You put in time even to do your research. We also create some papers and some research through Gemini or Perplexity or whatever. But bottom line is we only do that to read. We don't do that to publish. But to publish, you must do some systematicity resembling like here. You see, how is science going to evolve? Not by us sharing what we have read, but by creating new experiments, creating thought. So if you are to clear thought, create thought, you have to work hard. It is of course hard to imagine children as little scientists going about their work of making science of the world. Another of my parents' favorite stories about my childhood was that one such hypothesis testing behavior of mine. I have absolutely no memory of this, but this story has been told so many times that I must feel it is in my own memory. This happens often. My mother told me so many stories that I sometimes felt I was with her even in the partition years. And I can perhaps describe the independence of India through her eyes. So that's what happens when your imagination and you are told story, your memory kind of ingrains creates, visualizes. So your visualization goes deeper. When I got my first tricycle, I was absolutely thrilled and enjoyed riding it. One evening, when my dad came home from work, he found me in the garden all covered in mud. Nothing unusual there except I had dug a large hole and buried my tricycle in it. He could tell that I had done so because only the handlebars were sticking out. When he asked me to explain what I was up to, I told him I wanted more tricycles and thought if I could sew the tricycle, perhaps I could get a tree of tricycles. I was curious, and it was a hypothesis worth testing. If only tricycles grew on trees. Once again, I was not abnormal. For this kind of hypothesis testing behavior in children is well documented in developmental psychology literature, sorry. Gopnik, Belzoff, and Kuhl 1990, Schulz, Gopnik, and Glymo 2007. Most of the work is done in Sweden at ETH. ETH has given Nobel Prizes like no other university. They have 20 Nobel laureates at ETH. So a lot of these names which you see are either Swiss or maybe some European names. They not only demonstrate an ability to unravel variables when causality is unclear, but also make effective use of available information to comprehend correct causal structures. Gopnik and Schultz, 2007. For a groundbreaking research in understanding child's underestimated cognition and capabilities, the psychologist Alison Gopnik was awarded the 2003 Rumelhart Prize, widely considered as the Nobel Prize in Cognitive Science. Gopnik, 1996, Gopnik, 2016, Gopnik, Griffith, and Lucas, 2015, Gopnik, Belzoff, and Kuhl, 1919, Gopnik, 2009. In a nutshell, we now know that children tend to spend more time figuring out toys that are ambiguous. And if given a choice, they actually prefer to play with toys that seem ambiguous. Ambiguity and uncertainty drive their curiosity. As if this alone were not remarkable enough, we now also know that when such curiosity turns into action, it does so in a systematic way. Children play in a way that helps them figure out how cause and effect relationship work in the world. So here's another example. So I will just screenshot it. So you can design an experiment to test this. And why I'm encouraging you to think this way, a lot of us have assignments at hand. So you can pick up one of these statements and try and prove it. Don't just give us, hypothesis. Give us data, give us numbers, give us pictures that you're doing the experiment. Create a video when you're doing the experiment. Show us the energy which your children show. Try and illustrate your presentations with graphics, with numbers, with charts like they do in the productive failure. So, this book itself is a way of learning how to design your presentation, how to design a paper. Look at the examples, look at the stories. You can write these stories yourself, but your story will then be tested for an hypothesis. That's your job to demonstrate productive failure. Uncertainty derives curiosity. Curiosity acts to reduce uncertainty. And such action mirrors such much like what scientists do. So uncertainty pushes curiosity. Curiosity reduces uncertainty and the cycle goes on. So we have done with the curious child. Now let's look at the curious adult. It turns out older children and adults are not that different. The propensities may change, but the pattern remains the same. Uncertainty drives curiosity, and curiosity acts to reduce uncertainty and drives learning. So, this is how learning happens. You come to the masterclass, you meet us, you come here curiously, and that is where you find what we are doing, and it drives your learning. So, learning forward itself is curiosity and uncertainty outcome. When you were sent to the masterclass, there was so much uncertainty. Why am I going there? When you came here, your curiosity got satiated. And that's how your learning is evolving. In a 2009 study with undergraduate students, Nicholas Campion and colleagues studied the effect of inconsistency in narrative text on curiosity. They gave a group of students several short stories to read. In some stories, characters behaved consistently throughout, whereas in other, they did not behave in a manner that would be expected given the premise of the story. For example, if the premise of the story had Jack set up to be a computer scientist with no interest in dressing up nicely for work, then in the consistent version of the story, Jack would behave by putting on something casual before going to work. In the inconsistent version, he would make an effort to put on fancy clothes and take care in styling and looking good before going to work. And in the neutral version, he would just carry on without an overt version for or deviation from the premise. As students read through several of the three types of text presented to them in a random manner, Campion and colleagues found that students spent more time reading the inconsistent text, like the children who spend more time on uncertain toys. And just like those children, undergraduate students also reported more interest in inconsistent text than the consistent and neutral text. Inconsistent texts create an uncertainty which toys with us, it provokes us, piques our interest, and makes us curious. It is not surprising, therefore, that a similar dynamic plays out in a more formal learning context as well, such as learning from productive failure. I'm tempted to give an example. When you find hard words, your curiosity pushes you to search for them. When you slow down and you try and analyze a statement, your curiosity will try and help you find examples. Earlier on, we used to always have a dictionary by our side when we were reading. Today, life has become easier. You have technology by your side. So your curiosity can be fed even more. In 2014, my colleagues Katharina Loibel and Nicole Rommel, I believe, were the first ones to demonstrate this in two classroom-based studies. Using the same materials I had developed for my studies on teaching statistics, specifically the concept of standard deviation described in chapter 1. I hope you remember there was a basketball match and there was scoring. We had to find out who was more consistent. If you recollect, that was chapter 1. Now, the beauty of this book is imagine we remember such things. I have not read this chapter before coming here, but you have to read with such depth that it registers into your subconscious. And that's what productive failure does. आपका हाथ एक बार जल जाता है ना तो आप बड़े केयरफुल होते हैं अगली बार किचन में जाने में गर्म पानी में हाथ डालने में so that's how you learn from your failure so your failure tells you that this is the extreme that can happen to you and adapting them to the German context, they gave one of the group of students explicit instruction on the concept of standard deviation and then asked them to solve practice problems. Go back to chapter 1. I call this the direct instruction condition or instruction followed by problem solving. The other group followed the productive failure model, where they followed the problem before receiving instruction. From the lens of uncertainty, the direct instruction group had all the information required to solve the problem, and therefore they experienced little or no uncertainty. In contrast, the productive failure group was by definition a high uncertainty condition because students lacked the information required to solve the problems. What did they find? Students in the productive failure condition reported significantly higher curiosity to learn from instruction than the group that received direct instruction. So let's take you can create an experiment around this. I'm giving you more and more thought-provoking ideas in the chat box. So people who are not following the Teachers Academy WhatsApp chat, please do that because that's where we share all this. We don't share it in the Sunbeam Masterclass. Think of it this way. Suppose you are going into the lecture on a new topic and the teacher starts by asking you how interested you are in learning that topic. Compare this with the situation where the teacher throws you in an uncertain situation first by asking you to solve a problem that is designed in a way that you would not be able to solve correctly, and then ask you how interested you are in learning the topic. In which case, would you more interested or more curious? Intuitively, you might say the latter. This is another thing you can try in your class. What Lobel and Rommel showed was that your intuition is supported by experimental evidence. So you have to test your intuition or a hypothesis with an experimental evidence. That uncertainty in productive failure cannot, even though it initially led to failure, made students more curious to learn from subsequent instruction than those who were given the instruction right off the bat. What was even more remarkable that productive failure students remain more curious even after receiving instructions, even though their thirst for knowledge was quenched after learning the correct solution. They remain more curious than their counterparts, which is an amazing finding from an educational point of view. After all, who does not want to design learning in ways that not only invoke curiosity but also maintain it beyond learning? But wait, it gets better. Wouldn't it be even more spectacular if there was a direct link between curiosity and learning? That uncertainty not only drives curiosity, but also predicts learning. For this, we turn to a fascinating set of studies by colleagues Mariana Lamina and Catherine Chase. In 2017, Lamina and Chase worked with community college students learning about one of the more difficult concepts in physics, moment of inertia. The goal of the lesson was to teach students how the mass, radius, and length of a cylinder determine how fast it rolls down a ramp. They set up several demonstrations where cylinders of different mass, radius, and length were placed on a ramp and allowed to roll as the ramp was raised, systematically varying only by three variables: mass, radius, length at a time. However, the experimental trick was not in the demonstrations, but what happened before students watched these demonstrations. They divided them into two groups. As before, one group received direct instruction from the teacher about the concept, where the teacher explained the order in which cylinders would go down the ramp and why. These students were given all the information to understand their demonstrations and therefore experience low or no uncertainty. The other group, sorry, the other group was first asked to predict the order in which cylinders would go down to the ramp and only then observe what happened to the demonstration. These students made predictions before watching the demonstration, making them inherently more uncertain. Afterward, all students took a quiz where they had to solve problems on the targeted concept. As expected, they found that the inherently more uncertain learning condition led to greater curiosity compared to inherently more certain direct instruction. And more important, students who reported being more curious learned more. 2 years later, in 2019, in a follow up study, Lamnina and Chase replicated and extended these findings to high school students learning two other concepts in physics. Overall, therefore, be it children playing with toys, or college students reading text, or high school and college students learning various concepts in physics, these studies suggest that there are multiple ways in which we can manipulate uncertainty to trigger situational interest and curiosity, with the most recent evidence suggesting that students with higher triggered curiosity perform better on assessments of learning. Although this body of work is small but growing, the pattern of effects, not effects, but effects, across several age group, contexts, and domains is remarkably consistent. Plus, as we shall see in the following section, evidence from neuroimaging studies is lending more explanatory weight to the pattern of effects. So we will pause here and we will create a bookmark and we'll find out what this curious brain is when we meet next time, which is next Saturday. So let's add this bookmark first before I miss it. So your bookmark for next Saturday. Bookmarks are added in the Teachers Academy WhatsApp group, please. So next Saturday will be 26th. Bookmark 26th July 2025. Gurdeep and Manisha note, we will read The Curious Brain next week. So thank you. I will now stop sharing this particular part and just highlight some tools which you can use. So this is the YouTube channel. So you can go to the home of the YouTube channel. YouTube channel is very, very simple. Okay, we are there. Yeah. So YouTube channel is very simple. We were seeing the featured video on a channel called My Good School. So we have retained the name My Good School ultimately because that's where we started and that's where we. So how do you reach our library? It's very simple. You just pick up podcasts if you are reaching old stories, but currently we have created playlists. So in playlists, we have sports productive failure. So please use productive failure and you can play from the chapter 1 of the book till now. So if you miss a session, don't worry, it will be there in the playlist. So the full playlist of productive failure is a whole course which we have generated from the masterclass where we started introducing productive failure part 1 to where we have reached. We talked about productive failure and memory enhancement last time where we did the able method, and today we saw how curiosity is kindled, how understanding, uncertainty, curiosity all go hand in hand. You may want to play these videos even with teachers who don't attend. Please feel free. Joining the master class is free for one and all. Anyone can register and join us. That's not difficult at all. I just need to show one more thing to you. I will open it here. So if you send us a submission, where does it go? It goes on a blog called Happy Teachers, happyteacher.in, not teachers. You are a happy teacher inside. Happyteacher.in, happy teacher inside you. Happy teacher in India. That's what the domain is. We have a submission last week, the impact of productive failure on creative problem solving, a study of student learning outcomes by Amit. Thank you, Amit, for your submission. We have a pattern in most submissions, so I think you have either consulted or discussed. But I still want your submissions to have more data. I still want your submission. Maybe it shows a video that you were doing an experiment of the product how to prove your hypothesis because you have to go that far. Don't just give us research which can be taken out by perplexity in 5 minutes. So it's important for you to design an experiment, run an experiment, collect data, and present that, even if no data comes out, as long as you do the experiment. So this is the submission. We don't have anything else. I think this submission was last week where Manisha made a submission. So there is no other submission. If you go right down on the happyteacher.in, all the submissions so far from the year 2009 are all here. So you have lots to read. Your reading, reflection, and relationship can happen on happyteacher.in, a very well researched and looked up to blog with over 21 lakh page views. So do have a look at this blog. You will find lots of reading content. You don't even need a book today if you read from the blog. It's as easy as that. आपको यहाँ हिंदी भी मिलेगी, इंग्लिश भी मिलेगी, तो आप यहाँ सर्च कर सकते हैं जो आपके माइंड में चीज आती है और वो आपको इस ब्लॉग में पढ़ने को जरूर मिलेगी. अब हम स्टॉप शेयरिंग से वापस आ गए. I'm back in the master class looking at the chat box. There's lots of Jai Hind. Love you, Sunbeam. On another note, towards the end of this month, Jugjeev sir and myself, we head out to the School News Global Ed Fest. The School News Global Ed Fest is happening 31st of July, which is a Thursday. It will happen on Thursday 31st. It will happen on Friday 1st. And it will happen on Saturday 2nd. Now, Saturday 2nd, when we have a masterclass, Jugjeev and me are both participating in the conclusion of the SGEF. So we will see you on 26th. फिर उसके बाद छुट्टी. I know this has happened 2 times in the recent. term and doesn't happen normally. But believe me, we will give you extra Saturdays and not just 52 as we promised in the masterclass series. ये कारवां चलता रहेगा, हम पढ़ते रहेंगे और आगे भी पढ़ते रहेंगे. तो ये मत सोचना कि सर ने छुट्टी मार ली या छुट्टी कर गए, ऐसा नहीं होगा. परंतु हम आगे पढ़ेंगे, विल मेक अप. और हम फ्राइडे को भी पढ़ते हैं. इफ यू फील लाइक कंप्लीटिंग योर काउंट ऑफ 52 सेशंस, join us on Friday. We have lovely brewing knowledge sessions. Yesterday's Friday recording, please listen to it on the YouTube channel. And yes, if you sign up for the newsletter on gsi.in, you get all the recordings and links and information in one email Monday morning, 7 a.m. So until Monday morning, 7 a.m., when you get all this content, have a great weekend and do read more about productive failure. Try
So,
and create experiments about productive failure. Yeah, Manisha?
Mohammad Imran and Jugjeev has raised their hands.
Sure.
I'm unmuted, Mohammad Imran. Sir,
Yeah.
you may go ahead.
इमरान जी पहले आप, फिर जुगजीव सर.
Good evening and Jai Hind, sir.
जय हिंद इमरान जी.
Sir, today we learn about curiosity learning and we learn about Piaget theory also, who gave his wonderful theory on child development. Sir, can we relate this Piaget theory with Ivan Pavlov's, one of a Russian psychologist who gave classical conditioning theory on stimulus and response?
Yes, see, response is also a stimulus. So uncertainty is also stimulus, and I'm glad you think it that way. And it's like, I'll give you a simple example. छुई मुई वाली बात है ना, जब तक आप स्टिमुलस नहीं देंगे, the plant will not sleep. But
Yes.
in this case, whether it is Pavlov or what Piaget did, they always looking for a stimulus. And to light a fire, you need to use that one spark.
Because sir, when I was doing my BA classes, I think 15 years back, I listened this to great psychologist Piaget that memory you just make it alive once again. So I was thinking about that Piaget and that Ivan Pavlov's theory.
Yeah, it's a great connect, because if you see what is behind these two things, the stimulation of the faculty, and that's the teacher's role. And this curiosity, even in the Pavlov case or in the Piaget case. So curiosity is what arouses an understanding, and curiosity is akin to uncertainty. Does that answer your question, Imran?
Yeah, yes, sir. So he gave a wonderful definition of that learning. That learning is a relatively permanent change in the behavior. This was given by Ivan Pavlov.
Beautiful. Absolutely. That's what learning is. What learning does, it creates a culture. It it involves you. It's like it gives you a dopamine, if you ask me. Even learning is a drug where you want to learn more. So from reading, you go on to learning. And that's the whole idea of creating a culture of trust and learning through reflection. And that's how relationship happen. So relationship is nothing but a culture of trust and learning. Over to you. Thank you, Imran. Over to you, Jugjeev sir.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I've not been following this book, but luckily I came today. I think it's got a fantastic lesson today. We all know that children, just by nature, are curious, and we all are bombarded with this statement, somewhere this curiosity has got killed, and where it has got killed comes out in this chapter. We are giving them too many instructions. We're just laying it out all for them, aise karo, aise karo, aise karo, aise karo, and that's the problem.
Yeah, you said it so beautifully. So let's bell the cat and let's not curiosity kill the cat, huh?
Yeah.
Fantastic observation, Jugdeep sir. So, Jugdeep sir, what that makes me think, that the more we publish, the more content we put together, the more we are leaving less space for thinking and more of reading. And application is where you learn. So if you look at all this book, it keeps telling you test a hypothesis. And I say that repeatedly for everything. So whatever you read, think, that is testing also. Testing doesn't mean that it's outside that you कोई physical experiment करना है. Testing also means you assimilate in your brain. You think about it because anything which makes you think is testing you, and that's where curiosity is pushed. Well, does that help,
Yeah.
Jogji?
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. And actually, it's a tougher way to go about teaching when you have to figure out kitna instruction dena hai, nahi dena, and what actually happens. Otherwise, it's very easy to lay out the instructions. Ye kar do, khatam hui baat. You know.
See, there are so many examples in this book. Instructions है नहीं toy दे दिया, instruction है नहीं problem दे दी, and you'll
हाँ,
try. And like Dr. Manu Kapoor, he tried 100 times to do the math solver and he didn't get it. So he went back to his coach. He says, "You learned everything because you tried 100 different things. See the depth of the learning."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the beauty. Gurdeep is smiling at what you're saying. So thank you, Gurdeep. God bless you. And thank you for putting about the awareness of the program. Keep creating your graphics, keep creating your quotes. They help us. And if your school gives you time, we would love to see your experiments and thoughts. I know your school doesn't give you time. That's what Jugjeev sir says. The schools are piling up instructions, piling up content. And that's why the new education policy says cut out the content. It's a cornerstone of the new education policy. Reduce the content,
Totally
improve
agree. That's why I've written totally agree with Jugjeev sir. ऐसे करो, ऐसे करो. It's for everyone, even for the teachers and the students, everyone. So many instructions.
Absolutely. So, on that note, let's not leave more instructions. We've enjoyed this evening. We look forward to next Saturday, where we will go and water our minds more about curiosity and how it works. Thank you so much. Greetings from the Learning Forwards Joy of Learning Studio. So, if your curiosity is there, this is not the wallpaper, this is an actual studio. So often need people we know wall. That's why we don't put a wallpaper in my session. And we want you to come and find out how you can satiate your curiosity. Visit us sometime. It'll be wonderful to host you. I promise you free boarding lodging. All you need to do is just come to Dehradun. We'll look after you. And I promise you, you will read much more after you visit us. So on that note, keep reading. Bye bye and have a great weekend. Manisha, any announcement before we go?
Tomorrow we have Amardeep sir. So I
Yes,
request
come for
all
the
of
Sunday
us,
school.
yeah, please join tomorrow for an enlightening
Give
session
the
from
formal
Amardeep sir.
invitation. Jugdeep sir, give the formal invitation. It's you
You
are
know,
the host.
please, request teachers to join for Sunday school. We're episode 19 of Guru Nanak's travels, and I mean the part that I find most fascinating, frankly, is the part in Pakistan because we don't get access to it. So tomorrow is a part in Pakistan, Panja Sahab. So I mean, it's very, very, it's lovely.
Thank you, Jugjeep. So join us tomorrow on a voyage of discovery to Pakistan, a land where some of us were conceived, some of us born, and some of us dream of. So let's do all these things. Let's meet tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. at My Good School. How do you find the road to My Good School? Simply hop into the My Good School group in the WhatsApp chat. Manisha has posted the link and she's posted the program. And yes, after the documentary, students ask so many questions to Amardeep that will interest you. It'll help you understand how your children think and just watch them. After that, there's inner life of animals. So humans and animals all attend the Sunday school. Why don't you? Thank you so much. The recording will be available tomorrow for this. I've stopped working after the session. So tomorrow morning, 5 a.m., I'll work on it. And before you wake up, you'll have it in your inbox. Bye bye till then. Take care. And yes, sign up for the Good Schools India newsletter only at gsi.in.
Bye.
Thank you, Jugjeev sir, once again.